Good morning. It's Tuesday, February 4th, and this morning I'm going to talk about the airline accident. So if you're uncomfortable with that, you can leave this conversation right now. But when I was in business, I flew an awful lot, and I can tell you in all those many years that I flew, I only had 2 incidents that one could call disturbing. It was not dangerous. It was flight delays. One of them occurred when I was flying home from somewhere, I think it was Chicago, and the flight was delayed for 6 hours. So that's not a terrible situation. The other situation happened when my wife and I were going to Puerto Rico for our annual yearly vacation. And when we got to the airport, we found out that the plane was grounded, and they couldn't tell us when that plane was going to take off. So we waited at the airport for 12 or 14 hours, and finally the plane took off. So those were my 2 worst flying experiences. But we have a nation right now where flying phobia affects more than 25 million people. And that's a difficult thing to manage. So how can you possibly manage a phobia like that? You know, when you have accidents, fatal mid-air collision, like the stuff that happened near Washington, D.C., the consequences of that reach out much further than those who were directly affected by the tragedy. It can cause an increase in people's fear of flying, and that's known as aerophobia or aviophobia. And many people have sat through plane delays due to mechanical issues, and I can understand that. And weather or other reasons can cause plane delays also. So many times when you go to the airport or you have gone to the airport, you hope that the plane is going to take off reasonably close to the starting time. Now, almost every person has a thought that his plane could be delayed or that it might not be safe. Now, that's according to some clinical psychologists who believes that people have an innate fear that rises to the surface when they fly. But it's not that simple for everyone. Some people have a tendency, the thought that the worst can always happen to them. And that's called some kind of stickiness or some kind of obsession. Now, they don't like thinking about it, but it sticks in their mind and they can't get it out. And that's happened to many people who have to fly. So if you get a job and you find out that you have to fly a reasonable amount of time, maybe once a month or once every 2 months, you can't afford to have true aerophobia because that's going to affect the way you make a living. Now, aerophobia affects something like 25 million people in the United States. And guess how old they are? These are not old people. It most commonly affects the people between the ages of 17 and 34, because that is a significant time in life when changes occur. You know, you're graduating from high school, or you're graduating from college, or you're getting married, or you're about to have a child. Those things affect your lives, and they can affect your fear of flying. People may be scared to fly because it jeopardizes their life at that particular time. You haven't lived long enough to experience the joys of a good flight, the joys of a good vacation brought about because you were able to fly someplace. So when we look at these accidents, these tragedies that occurred, these collisions in midair, aerophobia symptoms come to the surface. And then there are many people that can't manage those symptoms, and they will take a train or a bus to get someplace. And that can take 3 or 4 or 5 times the amount of your precious time traveling. So planes are a vital communication device in our country. They're a vital traveling device. But as I look at this entire picture, there's gross mismanagement in the safety aspects of flying. We don't have enough air traffic controllers. We can't get enough people to fill that job. That is a tough, tough job. And those flights that were accidents the other day may have been caused because the air traffic controllers were overworked. In one instance, the air traffic controller was in contact with one of those flights, and he told them to watch out. And 45 seconds later, they crashed. I don't know that I could blame it on the air traffic controller, but those things can happen if the air traffic controllers are not 100% equipped to do the job. And I don't mean that they weren't mentally equipped to do the job when they were hired, but they're probably working so much overtime because of the shortage of manpower or something like that. Don't get me wrong, I am not blaming traffic controllers at all. It's just that it's another niche in the problem of air accidents. So when people are flying and getting ready to fly, many are on edge or nervous or whatever it is, and many don't fly that often. So the experience of a flight can cause some uneasiness. Let me call it uneasiness. I don't want to call it pure fear, but they have to recognize that it's a dangerous way to travel, even though 99% of the time everything is okay. But this uptick in our air traffic accidents right now is not good for the airline industry. So I want you to take care if you're traveling and pick the right airline, and don't travel on the busiest day in the world or whatever that is. I don't know what to tell you. Just be calm, have everything with you that you need, and have a great vacation or a great trip. Take care. Bye.